Are you new to DC media and don't know where to start? Are you a parent who wants to introduce your kids to it but not sure what's appropriate? Or are you already a DC fan and want to see what this bum has to say about it? Welcome. This video is hopefully for you. My name is John and I've been a fan of DC for almost 20 years now. And I hope that my perspective will help you get through all the media that's involved. Now there's just so many different DC projects that it might not be easy knowing where to start. But that's okay. The purpose of this video is to give you different options on how to start watching depending on what you're interested in. Now if you don't have time to watch this full video that's probably very long, I've included a link in the description below that will take you to the script towards this video so you can get a fine outline for what to look for. So how should we start? How about with the golden standard of DC that gives you a great look at how the different characters are presented? Let's begin with the DC animated universe. Animated? As in cartoons? Yes, but don't let that fool you. They may be animated, but they are timeless, well-written, well-performed, and some of the most iconic versions of some of these characters. Now the DC Animated Universe, or the DCAU, is a connected series of cartoons and animated films that began in 1992 with Batman the Animated Series, and initially ended in 2006 with Justice League Unlimited. Many people worked on this, but the main creatives behind the universe were the likes of Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, Dwayne McDuffie, and Alan Burnett. Now some of these shows do have very specific watch orders, but I'm just going to give you a very basic outline. Here's how we get started. Let's begin with Batman the Animated Series. This show follows an already established and seasoned Batman who has already fought some of his villains, and he faces new threats on his crusade to fight crime. He is sometimes joined by his sidekick, a college-attending Robin. The show depicts one of the best versions of Batman and all of his classic villains, while also creating new icons such as Harley Quinn. Featuring the iconic voices of Kevin Conroy as Batman, Mark Hamill as the Joker, and Arlene Sorkin as the original Harley Quinn. There are about 3 to 4 seasons depending on what watch order you're watching. If you're watching from production order, there are about 4 seasons, or if you're watching from release order, there are about 3 seasons. The production order is the preferred one, but either ones will suffice. I would recommend that you watch all except for the last season, as we'll get to the last season later on. For the parent's guide, you can expect some suggestive character designs and some mild innuendos, especially if Bruce Timm is involved in the character designs. Next up, we have Batman Mask of the Phantasm. This is regarded as one of the best Batman films. The film follows Batman as he tries to stop the Phantasm, and in this he'll have to face his past in Batman's most personal adventure yet. This helps show part of the origin of how Batman first started and how he created his costume. For the parent's guide, this is slightly darker than the show itself, with like an implied sex scene as well. Next, we have Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero. It's another animated film where Batman must thwart Mr. Freeze's latest scheme. This film continues with the story of Mr. Freeze and is an important part of the character's journey leading into the final season. For the parent's guide, it is pretty tame, outside of some frightening imagery and moderate cartoon violence. Next up, we have Superman the Animated Series. This show follows the origins of Superman through his journey as a hero. Here he confronts new villains and must learn to beat them in creative ways. Due to this being a younger Superman, his powers are toned down in order for him to learn about himself and build his strength. While not as highly talked about as Batman the Animated Series, this is still a great show, and again has some of the best interpretations of the villains, if not the best. There are 3 seasons that aired alongside the final season of Batman the Animated Series. For the parent's guide, again expect some suggestive character designs and mild innuendos. Next up, we have the final seasons of Batman the Animated Series. Here we return to the world of Batman with this new season, and this show takes place a couple years after the events of the first few seasons, and Batman's roster of allies is increased. This is technically a different show called The New Batman Adventures, but it's still pretty much the same as Batman the Animated Series. The character designs changed in order to be on the same visual level as the Superman show, and some of the designs are not as received the best, and this season takes on a much darker tone, but the stories are top-notch. For the Parents' Guide, expect some more darker imagery, with some more blood and even more suggestive character designs. Next up, we have Batman Beyond. So we continue with the world of Batman with a series about his legacy. This show takes place many decades in the future when Batman is an old man and can't fight crime anymore. So a young teen takes over the mantle of Batman in this futuristic show as he learns to struggle with his personal life and being Batman. This show does not have to be watched at this point as it takes place in the future. However, it is recommended that this show must be seen before Justice League Unlimited. For the Parents' Guide, expect some more suggestive character designs and some more frightening imagery. Next up, we have Justice League. We now move on to the Justice League, where our heroes of old and new must team up to save the world. This is one of the best versions of the League so far and stands as an example for future interpretations. The stories, characters, and relationships from the previous Batman and Superman shows continue, and new relationships are born. The golden standard of all the heroes and villains are here. For the Parents' Guide, we're going to continue with some suggestive character designs. Up next, we have Static Shock. This is a show about a young teen named Virgil who gets the power of electricity and becomes the superhero Static. This is probably the more light-hearted of the shows, but still has its merits. The show covers a wide variety of social topics, including gang violence, racism, and the effects of bullying. The overall quality of the show isn't as high-budgeted as the others initially, but it still is effective. Characters from the other shows will sometimes cross over. This does not really affect the universe outside of small cameos, but it is still a fun watch. For the Parents' Guide, this is a milder version of everything we've seen before. So while there are still some suggestive character designs, it is not as questionable as the other shows. Next up, we have Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. We return to the world of Batman Beyond with this film that contains one of the greatest moments of the entire universe. Mysteriously, the Joker returns and is up to Terry to figure out how to stop him. For the Parents' Guide, there are some very frightening imagery with blood, even death, and again, some more suggestive character designs. And lastly, we have Justice League Unlimited. This show expands the universe like never before as we are introduced to a wilder world of heroes. So many new superheroes are here and are also represented as the golden standard. Small, insignificant moments from previous shows become major plot lines that blend everything together in the final episodes of this universe. A proper conclusion for Batman Beyond is featured, and it really feels like a bigger universe. And for the Parents' Guide, again, some more suggestive character designs, suggestive dialogue, and typical cartoon violence. Now let's get into some other animated shows. What? Even more animated cartoons? It's the best way to represent these characters. Many films and TV shows have tried to do the same thing in live action, but fall short due to the limitations of filmmaking. Animated projects allow for presentation in a way that's much closer to what you might imagine when reading these comics. Now, these different projects aren't necessarily connected to each other, but they allow for different interesting versions of the same character. Now, none of these are what you might say be essential viewing, but they're a lot of fun and I would highly recommend them. With that, let's get started with this list. First up, we have The Batman. This show follows a Batman in his early years as a crime fighter. All of his villains are new to him and he is not recognized by the police, and he fights crime alone. There's more emphasis on Bruce Wayne and how he must adapt to confront different enemies, with a character arc on how he must learn to trust others. As the series goes on, he gets companions, which leads up to working with a league. For the Parent's Guide, expect some moderate cartoon violence. Next up, we have The Batman vs. Dracula. So what would happen if Dracula fought Batman? Well, here's a film just about that. This has the same characters, but it does not affect the show. It is not required viewing, but it's still a fun watch. For the Parent's Guide, expect some frightening imagery and some blood. Next up, we have Batman the Brave and the Bold. This show has Batman teaming up with more obscure superheroes at the time this was made, while paying homage to classic comic book stories. This helps you get a sense of the other types of heroes that aren't mostly seen in media. The show is also a love letter to the gold and silver era of comic books. It is more lighthearted and sometimes campy, reflecting the style of comic books pretty well. For the Parent's Guide, there is some mild innuendos and maybe some frightening imagery, but it's pretty safe. Next up, we have Teen Titans. This show follows a young group of heroes called the Teen Titans, and this is probably one of the more cartoonish shows of the Gold-like standard. However, this show is also the best at doing these characters and their team dynamics. The series is character-focused, with entire seasons being focused on each of the team, mostly. For the Parent's Guide, expect some slightly suggestive character designs and suggestive dialogue. Next up, we have Teen Titans Trouble in Tokyo. This is just a fun movie that doesn't feature anything major besides an ending to some character development. Here we see the Teen Titans go to Tokyo as they try to stop some villains. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs and some moderate cartoon violence. Next up, we have Young Justice. This is a show that focuses on the sidekicks of major heroes as they grow to become their own heroes and join the larger world. This shows another excellent example on how these characters can be represented, and it also features Gold-like standards of characters we know and don't know. The show was cancelled after 2 seasons. It did return for a couple more series, however, the show was not at the same quality as the first 2, and the show had aged up. For the Parent's Guide of the first 2 seasons, expect some suggestive character designs, some frightening imagery, and moderate cartoon violence. For the Parent's Guide of seasons 3 and 4, expect some mild language, even more suggestive character designs, implied sex, even more cartoon violence, and some mild gore. Next up, we have Green Lantern, the animated series. This is a show that follows the Green Lantern Hal Jordan as he travels to frontier space in order to stop an invasion. There are not a lot of projects that are solely based on this side of DC. This was unfortunately cancelled after 1 season, but constantly gets referenced in other projects. For the Parent's Guide, there might be some mild character suggestions and some frightening imagery. And lastly, we have Legion of Superheroes. This is an animated series about a young Superman who travels to the future to join the Legion in order to become a better hero. It gives us a prolonged look at the Legion and its core characters that don't really get their own projects. For the Parent's Guide, there might be some mild suggestive character designs. Now let's move on to some essential comic stories. Essentials? You mean there's even more than I need to know? Well, that's the thing about shows and movies about comic book heroes. There's just so much rich lore that makes up who these characters are. Now, these are the stories that you will see influenced in any adaptation of these characters. They may not be one-to-one, but you can see the inspiration. However, there's just so many different stories that we can cover. So what I present in this section are the comics that have been adapted into films of their own. Not all of them are perfect adaptations. In fact, many of them have heavy changes. But the essential essence of the comic stories are there. Now, I've arranged this section by character and influence. Some I have more to say than others. But that doesn't mean that the ones that I don't have a lot to say about are bad. It just means that I'm not as familiar with them as others. Now let's get started with this list. First up, we have Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. This is a 2-part movie that depicts one of the most influential Batman stories out there. An aged Batman comes out of retirement to save his city from the dark dystopia he had become. He battles new and old foes alike and has to deal with surviving in an environment that no longer wants him. This story, along with some others, helped change the cultural perspective of comic book storytelling, that they can tell more dark and compelling stories instead of the lighter, sometimes campy, and more patriotic tone of the previous years. Almost every following version of Batman is influenced by this incarnation. For the Parent's Guide, you can expect some intense, frightening imagery, cartoon violence, blood, death, nudity, and the like. Next up, we have Batman: The Long Halloween. This two-part movie is also one of the most influential Batman stories. Here we follow Batman as he tries to track down and stop a serial killer who commits their murders on holidays. The story delves heavily into the detective side of Batman, as well as the mental toll the case has on him and other characters. Many story elements from this get adapted throughout the theatrical films. This film is part of the Tomorrowverse series of films, and so some callbacks to previous films may not make sense. For the Parent's Guide, expect some strong language, implied sex, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman: The Killing Joke. Once again, this is also one of the most iconic Batman stories. This was originally meant to be an Elseworld story, a sort of what-if scenario, but became so popular that elements made it into essential Batman lore. This story tells a potential backstory to the Joker and reveals a major crisis in the life of Batgirl. The themes and the psychological relationship between Batman and the Joker are what makes this comic influential. The first 30 minutes of this film are not part of the original story, and it is not advised that you watch it. It is advised that you do skip to the part where the comic story actually begins. For the Parent's Guide, there are some suggestive character designs, partial nudity, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman Year One. This Batman story essentially tells how Batman first started out as a crime fighter. He learns and adapts his technology, skills, and costume to become a more effective superhero, as well as the origins of certain allies such as Commissioner Gordon. This take on the character's origins has influenced many incarnations in recent years. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman Under the Red Hood. This film combines two different Batman stories that are important to his mythos. Here we follow Batman as he tries to confront the new anti-hero, Red Hood. This is a story about how Batman deals with the loss of an ally. This is also a story about different ideals and explores Batman's view on no killing. For the Parent's Guide, expect some intense frightening imagery and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman Hush. This is a story about Batman facing the mysterious villain Hush, who constantly sabotages Batman as he tries to take down criminals. This film is from the DC animated movie universe. Some callbacks to previous films may not make sense. For the Parent's Guide, expect some partial nudity, implied sex, and some intense cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman: Gotham by Gaslight. This is a story where we see Batman if he were set during Victorian London times as he tries to uncover the mystery of Jack the Ripper. For the Parent's Guide, expect some intense frightening imagery and cartoon violence. Next up, we have The Death of Superman. This film depicts a shocking moment in comic book history, the death of Superman. A destructive creature called Doomsday crashes on Earth and wreaks havoc. It is up to Superman to save the day, but at a cost. Much of the visual iconography of the story has made its way to different projects. However, this is only half the story. For the Parent's Guide, expect some intense, frightening imagery and intense cartoon violence. Next up, we have Reign of the Supermen. This is the second half of the story that follows up on the death of Superman. This story explores the loss of his death had on characters, as well as what happens when you live in a world without Superman. Many new characters were introduced that would stick around. A double feature of this and the previous entry is the best way to experience it. This film is from the DC animated movie universe, so some callbacks to these previous films may not make sense. For the Parent's Guide, expect some intense, frightening imagery and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Superman Doomsday. This film is another adaptation of the Death of Superman story that also heavily abridges elements of the follow-up story. It's the same in its themes and premise, but different in its execution. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Superman Batman Public Enemies. This is an animated film based on the comic of the same name. Superman is wanted by the government and enlists the help of Batman to weed out the corruption before the Earth gets destroyed. It shows off a solid friendship between Batman and Superman. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs and some innuendo dialogue. Next up, we have Superman Batman Apocalypse. This is an animated film that attempts an origin for Supergirl. The story follows Superman as he tries to get Supergirl acclimated to Earth. Meanwhile, the tyrant Darkseid plans on corrupting Supergirl for his evil purposes. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, partial nudity, and some moderate cartoon violence. Next up, we have All-Star Superman. This is a story that asks what would happen if Superman became too powerful for his body to handle. Coming to terms with the outcome, Superman spends his time trying to make sure the world will be fine without him. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs and some moderate cartoon violence. Next up, we have Superman vs. the Elite. This is a story about Superman showing people why it is important for him to hold back his true power. This is also about a group with opposite ideals who try to show the world that their way is better. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs and some frightening imagery and moderate cartoon violence. Next up, we have Superman Red Sun. This is a story that asks what would happen if Superman were raised in Soviet Russia. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive dialogue, intense frightening imagery, intense cartoon violence, and some mild gore. Next up, we have Injustice. This is an adaptation of a prequel comic series based on a video game that tells the story of Superman's descent into darkness after losing everything that he loves. For the Parent's Guide, expect some intense frightening imagery and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox. This is one of the Flash's most iconic stories from recent years. Here we follow the Flash, who finds himself in a different universe where his mom is still alive and he no longer has powers. This film also gives us a look into alternate versions of the other superheroes. The motivation and origins to the Flash are explained. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Justice League: Crisis on Infinite Earths. Like the others, this is one of the most iconic DC stories. Created as a celebration of 50 years of DC publications, this story features or references pretty much every character or comic series owned by DC at the time. The story follows our menagerie of different heroes as they face a crisis that ends up rebooting the entire multiverse. This was DC's way of simplifying their brand from having multiple continuities to just one. Many characters are retired while others are created. It's pretty convoluted, which is why the story is best experienced as a culmination of something instead of a standalone adventure. This film is from the Arrowverse series of films. Some callbacks from previous films may not make sense. For the Parent's Guide, expect some moderate frightening imagery and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Justice League: Crisis on Two Earths. The story is sort of a miniature version of Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's about how the evil version of the Justice League want to destroy the multiverse, so it is up to the good Justice League to stop them before time runs out. This gets you a look into the multiverse if you're new to the concept. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, some frightening imagery, and moderate cartoon violence. Next up, we have Justice League Doom. This movie is based off a comic book story that shows how Batman plans things ahead and what would happen if the plans got into the wrong hands. For the Parent's Guide, expect some intense frightening imagery and moderate cartoon violence. Next up, we have Justice League: The New Frontier. This is a modern comic adaptation of a post-war Justice League forming to stop a terrible threat. It's an interesting revisioning of the iconic characters that I would like to see more of. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive dialogue, intense fighting imagery, and moderate cartoon violence. Next up, we have Teen Titans: The Judas Contract. This is one of the most iconic stories for the characters of the Teen Titans. The story is about how the mercenary Deathstroke is hired to take down and capture the members of the Teen Titans. But this is also the tragedy of the newest Titan member named Terra. This is pretty much what people think of when they think of a Titan story. This film is from the DC animated movie universe, so some callbacks to previous films may not make sense. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, implied sex, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Green Lantern: First Flight. So this film is essentially the origin story of the Green Lantern Hal Jordan. Here we follow Hal Jordan as he gets thrust into the galaxy in order to become a space cop. It shows how he gets his power ring as well as sets up one of his villains. For the Parent's Guide, expect some moderate frightening imagery and some cartoon violence. Next up, we have Wonder Woman. This is the story of Wonder Woman's superhero origin. Here we follow Wonder Woman and pilot Steve Trevor as they journey to the world of man in order to defeat Ares, the god of war. It's a similar plot featured in the Gal Gadot version, but in a different setting. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character design, suggestive dialogue, and some moderate cartoon violence. Next up, we have the DC Showcase. This is a collection of short stories that follow different characters of the DC universe, some of which are obscure. They offer brief glimpses of the lives of these characters. Some are better than others, but that's up to you. The shorts are Superman and Shazam: The Return of Black Adam, The Spectre, Jonah Hex, Green Arrow, Catwoman, Sergeant Rock, Death, The Phantom Stranger, Adam Strange, Kamandi: The Last Boy on Earth, The Losers, Blue Beetle, and Constantine: The House of Mystery. For the Parent's Guide, expect some mild to severe frightening imagery and cartoon violence. And lastly, we have Watchmen. This is one of the most influential comic stories that deconstructs the superhero as a character and genre. Set under the backdrop of the Cold War approaching a nuclear inevitability, this story offers a cynical yet realistic portrayal of flawed heroes with questionable morals. Like The Dark Knight Returns, this changed the perception of comic book storytelling. For the Parent's Guide, expect some severe, frightening imagery, cartoon violence, nudity, and implied sex. Now let's move on to the live-action films. So we're done with the animated stuff? Oh, finally! Or if you just want to go straight to this section, welcome. The films are what most people are going to see whenever they watch DC content. Because of that, they might miss out on characters and storylines that don't quite translate well into live action. Now we understand that some people don't quite have the time or the mentality to appreciate shows or animated projects. So now we rely on these films to tell us who these characters are. But there are over 50 years of film and television, so where should we start? Ultimately, that depends on what you're looking for in a film. Now, you could begin with a realistic imagining of Nolan's trilogy, or you could experience the wackiness of Schumacher's work, or you could just watch whatever's coming out at the time. It's really up to you where you want to start watching. But keep in mind that each film is always going to be influenced by what came before. So that's why I'll be presenting these films from a historical perspective. Now this section is only going to cover the major and influential theatrical releases. The other releases will be presented in a different section. But let's get started with this list. First off, we have the 1966 Batman movie. This marks the beginning of DC as a full-length feature film franchise. This movie is part of the 60s Batman TV show. You don't have to watch the show to understand what's going on. You can think of this film as an extra long episode. Here we follow Adam West as Batman and Burt Ward as Robin as they try to save the world from their most iconic villains. This film can be campy, but is very important to the history of the character and honestly can be lots of fun. For the Parents Guide, you might find some mild suggestive outfits and some slapstick violence, but it's pretty safe for the family. Next up, we have the Richard Donner Superman film. This is one of the most iconic versions of Superman. The story shows us the origins of the character and their life on Earth, with Christopher Reeve giving a timeless performance. Here we see the duo of Clark Kent and Superman more distinctly than ever. Any other attempts so far make them feel like the same person. This is not an action movie as you would typically expect. This is a superhero doing what he can to do good whenever he can. From the acting to the iconic music, this is what a lot of people default to as Superman. For the Parents Guide, you can expect some brief child nudity, some mild frightening imagery, and some superhero violence. Next up, we have Superman 2. The story of Superman continues in this sequel. Here we see threats from Superman's homeworld attempt to conquer the planet, all while Superman struggles with his responsibilities as a hero and a person. A different director took on this film, and his style made things more comedically lighthearted. It's still a solid movie, but there's clearly a tonal disconnect at times. There is a different version of this movie out there displaying the original director's vision, known as the Richard Donner cut. It's not as finished as we got, but it had a better connection to the first movie. For the Parents Guide, expect some suggestive dialogue, mild superhero violence, and the like. Next up, we have Superman 3. Here we see Superman take on a business tycoon who uses advanced technology to disrupt trade. This movie has the same director as the previous one, and it also doubled down on the comedy, even having comedian Richard Pryor as a main character. It is not regarded fondly by audiences, but can still be a fun time. For the Parents Guide, expect some implied sex, some frightening imagery, and some moderate superhero violence. Next up, we have Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. The final film in this series of Superman stories that is probably regarded as the worst Superman movie of all time. But there are some redeeming qualities to this, specifically the initial premise. This is a story that Christopher Reeve himself wanted to be done. Here we see Superman taking a stand to try to bring peace to a world that's at a constant nuclear standoff. Unfortunately, due to many behind-the-scenes issues, the film decided to give Superman a generic villain to fight instead of the philosophical concept. For the Parents Guide, expect some mild, frightening imagery and superhero violence. Next up, we have Tim Burton's Batman. Here we return with a new take on the character of Batman. This film makes the beginning of the cinematic, darker version of Batman that we will continue to see in all the future interpretations. Michael Keaton dons the cape and cowl in this dark portrayal by director Tim Burton. A lot of imagery and popular lines can originate from this film. The story follows Batman as he fights against the Joker's reign of terror, portrayed by Jack Nicholson. For the Parents Guide, expect some suggestive outfits, intense frightening imagery, and some superhero violence. Next up, we have Batman Returns. Michael Keaton returns as Batman for this even darker sequel by Tim Burton. Here, Batman faces off against the Penguin, portrayed by Danny DeVito, and Catwoman, portrayed by Michelle Pfeiffer, as they attempt to enact revenge on those who hurt them. For the Parents Guide, expect some suggestive outfits, heavy suggestive dialogue, and some intense superhero violence. Next up, we have Batman Forever. Due to some negative reception from parents and children who felt Return was too dark, the studio decided to take the franchise into a different direction. Officially, this is labeled as a sequel, yet it looks and feels like a reboot. Joel Schumacher takes over as director and brings the campiness of the 60s into the darker tone that Burton had established. Batman is now portrayed by Val Kilmer, with only a couple actors returning from the previous movies. However, the continuity in visual style does not add up. We also see the first appearance of Robin in live action since the 60s. The story follows Batman as he battles Two-Face, portrayed by Tommy Lee Jones, and the Riddler, portrayed by Jim Carrey. We also see the origins of Robin, portrayed by Chris O'Donnell. For the Parents Guide, expect some suggestive outfits, some frightening imagery, and some moderate superhero violence. Next up, we have Batman and Robin. This is often considered the worst Batman movie of all time. We follow Batman, who is now played by George Clooney, as he fights against the schemes of Mr. Freeze, portrayed by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Poison Ivy, portrayed by Uma Thurman, while also struggling to work as a team with Robin. The campy comedy is higher than ever in this film, but but it all has a charm to it. This also marks the first and last time we see Batgirl in a feature film for a long time. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive dialogue, moderate frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up, we have Superman Returns. This is a strange entry for Superman. This film is meant to be an alternate third movie to the older Christopher Reeve Superman. We follow a Superman who left Earth after the events of the second film and has now returned, where he tries to rekindle friendships and reestablish order. While this film is supposed to be in the same universe as the older films, this film is set in the mid-2000s, and the looks of the characters and settings don't really match what was previously established. Superman is now portrayed by Brandon Routh, who does a good job at trying to be Christopher Reeve, but it doesn't quite feel as natural. For a Parent's Guide, expect some moderate frightening imagery and superhero violence. Next up, we have Batman Begins. This is the beginning of the Christopher Nolan trilogy of Batman movies. Inspired by Batman Year One and other comic ideas, this movie tells the origins of Batman portrayed by Christian Bale as he seeks to enact vengeance on the criminals of Gotham, but behind the shadows, a new threat is rising. The Nolan films show us how Batman could look in a realistic setting. This is a good introduction to Batman for those who aren't that interested in a more comic book styled movie. For the Parent's Guide, expect some intense, frightening imagery and superhero violence. Next up, we have The Dark Knight, the second film of the Nolan trilogy and a movie regarded as one of the best Batman DC comic book movies of all time. Here we follow Batman in a cat-and-mouse game against the Joker, who pushes Batman to the brink of his moral code. With elements loosely inspired by The Long Halloween, we also see Batman question whether he should give up his crusade of vengeance and let those who follow justice save the city. The Joker is portrayed by the late Heath Ledger in an Oscar-winning performance. For the Parent's Guide, expect some severe, frightening imagery and intense superhero violence. Next up, we have The Dark Knight Rises, the final film of the Nolan trilogy. Loosely inspired by The Dark Knight Returns, Batman comes out of 10 years of retirement to stop the terrorist Brain, portrayed by Tom Hardy, from throwing Gotham into anarchy. For the Parent's Guide, you can expect some suggestive character designs, intense, frightening imagery, implied sex, and superhero violence. Next up, we have Watchmen. This film is a direct adaptation of the graphic novel Watchmen, directed by Zack Snyder. Many considered this comic to be unadaptable, but this film gets close. Snyder's unique visual filmmaking style perfectly recreated many comic panels. However, some of the crucial themes got lost in translation. The story follows a group of ex-heroes trying to navigate the dark world they live in. Meanwhile, hints of a conspiracy arise when one of their own is murdered. This film has 3 different versions: the theatrical release, which is okay but needed the extra footage, the director's cut, which has the extra footage, and the ultimate cut, which includes a dark comic story about a pirate. For the Parent's Guide, expect some severe language, nudity, sex, severe frightening imagery, severe violence, blood, death, all the works. Next up, we have Green Lantern. This movie was supposed to be Green Lantern's triumphant first appearance in a live-action film. Sadly, it bombed and is considered to be a not great movie. The character's origin in this film is generally accurate, and there's nothing too wrong with the lore or the accuracy presented. It's just not done in an interesting way, and it also doesn't help that the costumes were an unwise decision to be fully CGI that ultimately didn't look the best. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, dialogue, intense frightening imagery, and moderate superhero violence. Next up, we have Man of Steel. This marks the beginning of the DC Extended Universe, which is a series of films beginning here with Man of Steel and ending unceremoniously in 2023. The entire next decade of DC films on this list is from the DCAU. Zack Snyder returns to the superhero genre to direct this modern take on Superman portrayed by Henry Cavill. Here we see a different origin for Superman, where we focus more on his insecurities of being a superpowered being and whether he should reveal himself to the world. With the update of technology, this film takes a huge leap into how we see Superman in action, but this film makes some controversial choices that can either be received as great or not, depending on the kind of Superman you prefer to see. For the Parent's Guide, expect some moderate language, suggestive dialogue, intense frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up, we have Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. This film is a mixed bag for some people. Some people say that this is garbage, while others say that it is amazing. The story begins with the aftermath of Man of Steel, where the public perception of Superman is divided. Some see him as a hero, while others see him as a threat. The film follows both Batman and Superman. Superman struggles with his public perception as he finds himself uncomfortable with both the praise and the hate. Batman, portrayed by Ben Affleck, finds himself on the warpath against Superman. While in the shadows, someone manipulates them both against each other. Inspired by the visuals of The Dark Knight Returns and classic Superman comics, this film perfectly captures many of their imagery. However, once again, some controversial choices were made that divided audiences. It is advised to watch the Ultimate Edition, which adds more context to character motivation and seeds the plot better. For the Parent's Guide, expect some intense, frightening imagery and superhero violence. Next up, we have Suicide Squad. This is the third film in this universe. It is not beloved by fans. The story follows a group of villains/anti-heroes as they are forced to work for a secret government task force. This film is notable for having the first major live-action adaptation of Harley Quinn, who is portrayed by Margot Robbie. There was a clear struggle between the director's vision and the studio's demand to make it lighter. After a trailer that showed the movie as fun, the studio wanted the movie, which had a darker tone, to feel more like the trailer. What we ended up getting is a clash of tones and a majorly edited down story that no longer resembled the director's vision. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive outfits, dialogue, intense frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up, we have Wonder Woman. This film marks the first time we see a live-action Wonder Woman in her own major solo role since the 1970s Linda Carter TV show. The story tells the origin of Wonder Woman, portrayed by Gal Gadot, as he travels through the world of man to stop the god of war, Ares. Here we get to see what makes Wonder Woman a superhero to those around her. To some, this film reminded them of why they loved superheroes. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive outfits, suggestive dialogue, and some moderate, frightening imagery. Next up, we have the 2017 Justice League film. This one is a tough one. Originally, Zack Snyder directed his version of the film, but had to leave due to a family crisis. The studio brought in Joss Whedon to finish the movie. However, either Josh or the studio did not like the vision that Snyder had for the movie, so they reshot a lot of the film. What we got was an artistic mess of a movie that didn't feel like it came from one director's vision. Any pre-established character traits were pushed aside for the quippy comedic style of the MCU. The story follows the formation of the Justice League as they come together to defeat an alien invasion. This film was not the success that the studio wanted it to be. And after that, fans campaigned for the Snyder Cut to be released. For the Parent's Guide, expect some heavy language, suggestive dialogue, intense frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up, we have Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is the version of the Justice League that Zack Snyder wanted to tell. After years of fans begging for this, Warner Brothers finally agreed to release it. The film is long, 4 hours long, but it feels like a coherent movie instead of what was originally released. Each character has a moment to shine in this film, and the newly introduced ones have a more meaty story that it is shocking at how it was cut. The story has the same premise, but it is completely different. But this is a completely different film that feels like the previous ones were building up to. This film also teases future projects that would never come to fruition. For the Parent's Guide, expect some frightening imagery, intense superhero violence, blood, and fantasy gore. Next up, we have Aquaman. This film tells the origin of Aquaman, portrayed by Jason Momoa, as he learns to fulfill his destiny and stop a war. This helped change the public perception of Aquaman, whereas before he was seen as lame, now he's cool. After this point, pretty much every film underperformed at the box office. For the Parent's Guide, expect some intense, frightening imagery and superhero violence. Next up, we have Shazam. This is the first DCAU film that's not connected to any of the previous plots. This film tries to tell the basic origin story of a modernized character of Shazam, portrayed by Zachary Levi. Shazam, or Captain Marvel in the comics, is about a little boy who transforms into a superhero by shouting the word Shazam. In the comics, he is chosen to be a hero because he is pure of heart and is worthy of the power. If you were hoping to see the classic characterization, this could be disappointing as it depicts the more recent interpretations. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggested dialogue, intense fighting imagery, and superhero violence. Next up we have Birds of Prey. In the comics, the Birds of Prey were a superhero team of women that mostly consisted of Black Canary, the Huntress, and Batgirl. This movie is about Harley Quinn, who tries to find her place after breaking up with the Joker. For a movie about the Birds of Prey, they take a backseat to the random antics of Harley Quinn. The characterizations of the Birds of Prey members and many others can be disappointing if you were hoping for a more accurate depiction. For the Parent's Guide, expect some severe language, partial nudity, intense fighting imagery, superhero violence. Next up, we have Wonder Woman 1984. The story places us in the 1980s during a boom period of consumerism and materialism. Here we follow all our characters in their pursuit of desires, but the cost of achieving them may be too high. There may be some continuity discrepancies in Wonder Woman's characterization. For the Parent's Guide, expect some implied sex, suggestive dialogue, intense frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up we have The Suicide Squad. The title may be confusing, but this is actually a sequel made by James Gunn. It's the same premise of a secret government task force composed of villains, but executed under Gunn's creative perspective. This film does have some controversial decisions made for shock factor and humor. It is a much closer representation of the comic concept, but still makes choices that sometimes don't fit the characters, specifically in the final act. The film has a spin-off show called Peacemaker based on the character portrayed by John Cena. For the Parent's Guide, expect some severe language, severe fighting imagery, superhero violence, blood, and gore. Next up, we have Black Adam. This is a film that was in production purgatory for a long time that features the popular fan casting of Dwayne Johnson as the titular anti-hero villain Black Adam. It was meant to be a new launching point for the DCAU that ultimately underperformed and sealed the fate for the rest of the films. Here the story follows the ancient legend Black Adam as he finds himself in the modern world where his home is ruled by criminals. Acting as an anti-hero with lawless sense of justice, he finds himself in conflict with other heroes. For the Parent's Guide, expect some intense frightening imagery and superhero violence. Next up we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods. In this sequel, we follow Shazam and his found family as they struggle to navigate being heroes while also being kids. It was clear by this point that Warner Brothers had lost faith in the rest of the projects, which showed in some of the marketing. For the Parent's Guide, expect some intense frightening imagery and superhero violence. Next up we have The Flash, a film that was in production chaos as a revolving door of writers, directors, and visions kept pushing the project back. Not to mention the bad press surrounding The Flash's lead performer, Ezra Miller, which also massively delayed the film and left audiences uncomfortable. The film attempts an adaptation of the Flashpoint Paradox narrative, where the Flash finds himself in an alternate world where his mother is still alive. The film released in what looked like an unfinished state, as the VFX were laughably unpolished and definitely controversial during a certain sequence. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive outfits, nudity, frightening imagery, and intense superhero violence. Next up we have Blue Beetle, a film that was originally intended to be an HBO Max special, but then got turned into a theatrical feature. Surviving the mass of project cancellations, which include a mostly shot Batgirl film, the story tells the origin of the Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle, portrayed by Jola Maridueña, as he gets possessed with the powers of an alien scarab. The film is more about the importance of family than it is about being a superhero, which can frustrate fans who want to see Blue Beetle do Blue Beetle stuff. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive dialogue, intense frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up we have Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. This is the final film in the DCEU that also had to deal with controversy and studio meddling. The story follows Aquaman as he journeys to discover the Lost Kingdom before ancient evil returns. The studio had no hope in the project and expected it to bomb. It did, and marked the unceremonious end of the DC Extended Universe. For their Parent's Guide, expect some intense frightening imagery and superhero violence. Next up we have Joker. This is the first DC movie since Green Lantern that is not part of the DC Extended Universe or any pre-established series. This is not a superhero movie. This is a character study inspired by the Martin Scorsese movies of the 80s. This film, directed by Todd Phillips, delves into a possible origin of the character of the Joker. This Joker, portrayed by Joaquin Phoenix, is just a man who suffers from mental illness and lives in a corrupted city that is unable to help. The story follows this character as he becomes the Joker. The film is controversial in its depiction of violence and the lack of conviction behind it. For the parent's guide, expect some suggestive dialogue, severe frightening imagery, severe violence, and blood. Next up, we have Joker Folie à Deux. Created to be a response to the first film, this movie attempts to deconstruct what made the first film successful in a way that felt like they regretted making it. The story follows the titular Joker as he stands trial for his crimes and finds a kindred spirit in Harley Quinn, portrayed by Lady Gaga. This is also a musical of sorts. Ultimately dividing its audience, this film ended up being one of the worst to perform at the box office. For the parent's guide, expect some nudity, sex, suggestive dialogue, severe frightening imagery, and violence. Next up we have The Batman. Inspired by The Long Halloween, this film, directed by Matt Reeves, follows a gritty, realistic Batman, portrayed by Robert Pattinson, as he attempts to uncover the plot of a mysterious serial killer known as the Riddler. Conspiracies are revealed, and Batman must come to terms with his legacy of vengeance. This film also has a spin-off show that follows the Penguin, portrayed by Colin Farrell. For the parent's guide, expect some suggestive dialogue, severe frightening imagery, and intense superhero violence. And lastly, we have Superman. This is the first film in James Gunn's new DC universe, which follows a new portrayal of Superman, played by David Cornsweet. This is meant to be a more lighthearted and hopeful version of Superman. This is the most recent DC project at the time of this recording, and there is currently no parent's guide. Now let's get into some TV shows. Wait. You're saying there's more? Well, of course there's more. Did you think we were finished? We're not even at the halfway point. If you thought there was already too much content, you know nothing at all. But to keep things simple, the items presented in this section have an officially shared multiverse. Now this means that the properties in this section have either had cameos with each other or are influential to each other's universe. These shows are most commonly known as the Arrowverse. Now this section is going to be ordered by release date, and we'll briefly mention some films that are part of it. Let's get started. For the films to keep track of, we have Superman, Superman 2, Superman 3, Superman 4, the Helen Slater Supergirl movie, the Tim Burton Batman movie, the Superman Returns movie, the Green Lantern movie, and the Justice League movie. There's also the 70s Super Friends animated show and Batman the Animated Series. If you go through watching these films, please make sure to keep track of certain actors, music, and visual aesthetics. But to start off the TV shows, we have the 60s Batman. This series is what brought Batman into the mainstream. Set in the same world as the Adam West movie, this series shows the adventures Batman and Robin take as they fight against the villain of the week. Every episode follows the same format, and it is not necessary to watch every episode for this list. This can be something you watch for some silly fun times. This is one that can easily be watched with the entire family. With a parent's guide, there might be some suggestive outfits or dialogue, and some mild slapstick violence. Next up, we have the 70s Wonder Woman TV show. Like Batman, this series is what brought popularity to Wonder Woman in the mainstream. Played by Linda Carter, this series shows the adventures of Wonder Woman during World War II and later in the 70s as a spy. Each episode is similar but has an important message to convey. For the parent's guide, there might be some suggestive outfits, some frightening imagery, and mild slapstick violence. Next, we have the 90s The Flash TV show. This series brought us the first live-action Flash, played by John Wesley Shipp. This show is about the adventures of the Flash. Unlike the CW version, this show does not focus on a relationship drama. Each episode focuses on its own story. The show did not do well because of its high budget and poor schedule. The actors of this show will sometimes cameo in the CW version from time to time. For the Parent's Guide, there might be some suggestive dialogue, mild frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up, we have Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. This is another show about Superman. It focuses on the relationship between Clark and Lois as they investigate stories. Superman mostly appears at the end of episodes to save the day. For the Parent's Guide, there will be some mild language, some implied sex, and moderate frightening imagery. Next up, we have Smallville. This is a show about Superman during his years in high school and college as he tries to figure out who he is and what is his destiny. This show is a possible introduction into the character of Superman. However, because it is TV from the early 2000s, some characters and abilities can't fully be realized. This show also likes to reference the Christopher Reeve Superman any chance it gets. Please be able to recognize the actors and characters for the future. For the Parent's Guide, there'll be some suggestive outfits, partial nudity, moderate frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up, we have The Birds of Prey. This is a show about the Birds of Prey, following the characters of Black Canary, Oracle, and Huntress. Watching a couple episodes is all you really need, as you'll need to be able to recognize actors and characters for the future. For the Parent's Guide, there might be some suggestive outfits, suggestive dialogue, moderate frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up, we have Arrow. This show is the official start of the Arrowverse, telling the origins and journey of Oliver Queen. This series shows the adventures of the Green Arrow. This is where the watch order of these shows get tricky, because the other CW shows begin airing alongside each other with their continuities being placed within those weeks. The show can be exciting at times, but can be muddled down with drama. Please follow the watch order in the link in the description below. For the Parent's Guide, you'll have some suggestive outfits, suggestive dialogue, moderate frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up, we have the CW's The Flash. This show marks the second series to be part of this shared universe. This is the story of Barry Allen, as he uses his power to become the Flash. This show is riddled with Easter eggs from the comics, and it is time-consuming to find every detail. If you want to understand those Easter eggs, watch it with someone who is familiar with the references to be able to fully appreciate it. The show can be exciting at times, but can be muddled down with drama. The show also aired alongside Arrow, so please follow the link in the description below with the watch order. For the Parent's Guide, you will have some suggestive dialogue, moderate frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up, we have Constantine. This is a show that was not originally part of the Arrowverse. It originally aired on NBC, but got cancelled after one season due to lack of viewership. The CW took ownership of this portrayal of the character afterwards. Constantine is a show about supernatural elements and the dark arts. It is stylized as a horror show. However, the show has some good writing. Matt Ryan is the perfect casting for the character of Constantine. His performance is like the comic book character coming to life. This does not need to be seen alongside Arrow or Flash. For the Parent's Guide, you'll have some implied sex, intense frightening imagery, and supernatural violence. Next up, we have Vixen. This is a series of animated shorts based on the character of Vixen. Originally aired as 6 short segments, it was later released as a movie with another set of 6 episodes. However, it does lead to a convoluted time frame. So follow the film timing from the link in the description below, which has all the episodes. For the Parent's Guide, you'll have some suggestive character designs, moderate frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Supergirl. This show brings the return of Supergirl into live action. Originally aired on CBS, this series tells the story of Supergirl as she tries to become her own superhero. At the time, having the shows from 2 networks crossover was amazing, and Supergirl has since moved to CW after the first season. The show can be exciting at times, but can be muddled down with drama. The show airs alongside Arrow and The Flash, so please follow the episode order in the link in the description below. For the Parent's Guide, you will have some suggestive outfits, moderate frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up, we have DC's Legends of Tomorrow. As the next show in this universe, this show brings the side characters of previous shows together in their own superhero team. This is a show about time travel, and it influenced the wackiness of the adventures. Episodes would take influence from comic book stories and characters. Like Flash, this show contains many Easter eggs that are too numerous to keep track of. The show can be exciting at times, but can be muddled down the drama. This show also airs alongside Arrow and Flash, so please follow the episode order in the link in the description below. For the Parent's Guide, you will have some suggestive dialogue, moderate frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up, we have Lucifer. This is a show about the literal devil. I have not seen it. The only thing you need to do is recognize the actor for the future. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive dialogue, implied sex, intense frightening imagery, and intense superhero violence. Next up, we have Freedom Fighters: The Ray. This is a series of animated shorts made into a film of the character from the Earth X crossover event. Follow the Ray as he becomes a superhero and opens up about being gay to his family. This has no influence on the universe at large. It is neither referenced nor brought up again. You do not have to watch it, but if you do, please follow the film timing in the link below. For the Parent's Guide, you will have some suggestive character designs, moderate frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Black Lightning. This is the CW's first superhero show that wasn't originally part of the Arrowverse. This show follows the hero Black Lightning as he comes out of retirement to protect his neighborhood. The show became popular in its first season for excellent writing. The show can be exciting at times, but can be muddled down with drama. The show aired alongside Arrow and the Flash, so please follow the episode order in the link below. For the Parent's Guide, we have moderate language, suggestive dialogue, moderate frightening imagery, and intense superhero violence. Next up, we have Titans. This is the first show to come out of the now defunct DC Universe streaming service. The show brings us the Teen Titans in a more mature setting as they find each other and become a team that does absolutely nothing heroic for most of the show. The show suffers with proper direction as it tends to focus on the individual stories of the team members and not as a team. The show can be exciting at times, but can be muddled down the drama. For the Parent's Guide, there is severe language, nudity, sex, severe frightening imagery, superhero violence, blood, gore, the works. Next up, we have Doom Patrol, the second of the DC Universe streaming service shows. This is a series of messed up characters as they attempt to deal with a hodgepodge they call their lives. While it is called a superhero show, these aren't superheroes. The show can be fun, but it hasn't done much to make these characters into the superhero team it is based on. The show can be exciting at times, but can also be muddled down with drama. For the Parent's Guide, there is severe language, suggestive dialogue, severe frightening imagery, superhero violence, blood, gore, the works. Next up, we have Swamp Thing. This is the third series of the DC Universe streaming service. Cancelled before the first episode even aired, this series tells the origins of Swamp Thing as he figures out his abilities and place in the swamp. Portrayed as a horror show, this show contains scary images and impressive practical effects. The show is interesting, but sadly got canned before it could really shine. The show can be very exciting at times, but can also be muddled down with drama. For the Parent's Guide, there is some suggestive dialogue, severe frightening imagery, and superhero violence, blood, gore, the works. Next up, we have Batwoman. This is the CW's attempt to make another female-led superhero show. Batwoman is a show about Batman's cousin who tries to take over the business. The show is not well received and is often criticized for its writing. The show aired alongside Arrow and Flash, so please follow the order in the description below. For the Parent's Guide, you'll find some suggestive outfits, implied sex, moderate frightening imagery, and intense superhero violence. Next up, we have Stargirl. This is the last of the DC Universe streaming service shows before it was shut down. The show follows Stargirl as she attempts to build a team of superheroes and thwart the Brotherhood of Evil. It is a decent show with nice references to past characters. The show can be exciting at times, but can be muddled down the drama. The show does also air alongside Arrow and the Flash, so please follow the episode order in the description below. For the Parent's Guide, you'll have some mild language, moderate frightening imagery, and intense superhero violence. And lastly, we have Superman and Lois. This is the last of the CW's lineup of superhero shows. This show follows Superman as he tries to mix being a superhero and being a father. We also follow his sons as they traverse high school and new unlocked superpowers. This show aired alongside the Arrow and Flash universe, so please follow the episode order in the link in the description below. For the Parent's Guide, you have some mild language, some implied sex, partial nudity, intense frightening imagery, and superhero violence. So now we move on to a completely different shared universe. You've gotta be kidding me. I thought we were almost done. How could there possibly be more? It might seem like a lot, but we are getting close to being done. Somewhat. Now this section follows another attempt at a DC animated universe, but stylized after the new 52 comics that were coming out at the time. This is called the DC Animated Movies universe, or the DCAMU. This is a series of DC animated universe that takes place in the same universe and with some of the same characters as well. It is another possible first-time entry, although I probably wouldn't advise it. First up, we have Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox. Consider this movie as the prologue to the DC Animated Movies universe. The story and events of this film lead to the creation of this new universe. It tells the story of Flash as he finds himself in an alternate timeline where everything is different and heading towards destruction. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and intense cartoon violence. Next up, we have Justice League War. This is the official first film of the DC Animated Movies universe. It shows the forming of the Justice League as they fight and try to save the world from the greatest villain, Darkseid. This is a decent start with some curious writing choices. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, dialogue, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have The Son of Batman. This film is the first appearance of the Damian Wayne Robin in animation. This is the story about Batman learning he has a son and now must become a father. This is also a story about Damian learning to be a hero without the influence of his grandfather's legacy. For the Parent's Guide, expect some intense frightening imagery, cartoon violence, and suggestive dialogue. Next up, we have Justice League: Throne of Atlantis. This film is the origin story of Aquaman in this continuity. Continuing with the adventures of the Justice League, this movie brings Atlantis and Aquaman into the fray as they must stop a war between the land and the sea. For the Parent's Guide, expect some intense frightening imagery and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman vs. Robin. In this continuation of the Damian Wayne story, Robin struggles with being a hero versus killing the criminals. The Court of Owls make an appearance in this film as they try to take down Batman from the inside. Even though this movie is called Batman vs. Robin, there is only one instance where they fight. For the Parent's Guide, expect some partial nudity, implied sex, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman: Bad Blood. In the story, Batman disappears and it is up to his Bat family to take up the mantle and save Gotham. New vigilantes show up and stir trouble in the world of heroes as they mess things up. For the Parent's Guide, there's some suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Justice League vs. Teen Titans. This film introduces the Teen Titans as Damian must learn how to be a team player and make new friends. It is up to the Titans to save the day when the Justice League get possessed by dark forces. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, frightening imagery, suggestive dialogue, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Justice League Dark. The Justice League must face a new foe as they battle against demons and dark magic. A new team that is equipped to fight with magic is formed. Matt Ryan returns to voice Constantine in this animated adaptation of the character. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, severe frightening imagery, and intense cartoon violence. Next up, we have Teen Titans: The Judas Contract. The Titans are back in this adaptation of the comic by the same name. The Titans must face their biggest challenge yet as they are targeted one by one by an assassin. The team must come together as one of their own is not who they say they are. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, dialogue, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Suicide Squad Hell to Pay. The Suicide Squad make their first appearance in this continuity as they fight to steal a Get Out of Hell free card. For the Parent's Guide, expect some heavy language, nudity, implied sex, severe frightening imagery, cartoon violence, gore, the works. Next up, we have Constantine, City of Demons. Officially, this film was not made to be part of this continuity. However, the creators said that this film can fit into the timeline as it is visually inspired by the same world. Matt Ryan returns again to play Constantine as he must face his past and save his best friend's daughter from a demon. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, implied sex, severe frightening imagery, severe cartoon violence, gore, the works. Next up, we have The Death of Superman. A monster crashes on Earth and wreaks havoc, and the Justice League try to defeat it but can't, and it's up to Superman to save the day. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Reign of the Superman. In the aftermath of the battle with Doomsday, Superman is gone and new heroes come in to take his place. Superboy, Steel, Cyborg, Superman, and some other Superman fight to be the one to take over the legacy, but all is not what it seems. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, frightening imagery, and intense cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman Hush. In this adaptation of the comic with the same name, Batman must face his most personal battle yet. He falls in love with Catwoman, but must also save the city from Hush, a new villain who knows his identity. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, implied sex, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Wonder Woman Bloodlines. In her first solo film in the series, Wonder Woman must face the mistakes of her past as she tries to be a better hero. A new villain comes to haunt Wonder Woman as she tries to destroy the Amazons and free Medusa. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, partial nudity, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. This is the last movie in the DC animated movies universe, and in this film, the Justice League tried to defeat Darkseid but fail. Now the few that are left must fight to survive and save as many as they can. The film can best be described as Infinity War and Endgame at once, but doesn't really have the time or budget to portray the story properly. The studio wanted this series to end, so this film was rushed to completion. For the Parent's Guide, expect severe language, implied sex, severe frightening imagery, cartoon violence, blood, gore, the works. Next up, we have Constantine, the House of Mystery, a DC showcase short film that serves as an epilogue to the DCAMU. We follow Constantine as he finds himself trapped in the House of Mystery and attempts a way to escape. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, severe frightening imagery, cartoon violence, blood, gore, the works. Next up, we have Superman, Man of Tomorrow. This is the official first film in the Tomorrowverse series of movies created by the aftermath of Apocalypse War. Here we follow Clark in his early days as Superman as he tries to convince a skeptical world that he is a servant for justice and hope. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Justice Society World War II. The Flash accidentally travels back in time to the Second World War, where he discovers a team of superpowered heroes fighting against the Axis powers in order to end the conflict. Here the Flash learns the value of having a team like this, as well as to not take life for granted. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman The Long Halloween. A mysterious serial killer who only murders on the holidays brings chaos to the criminal syndicates of Gotham. It is up to Batman to track the killer down and stop his rogues gallery of villains from getting in the way. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and intense cartoon violence. Next up, we have Green Lantern Beware My Power. John Stewart must learn to become a Green Lantern after he is granted a power ring. He teams up with other heroes on a galactic quest to uncover a mystery before war-torn civilizations are extinguished. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Legion of Superheroes. Supergirl struggles to adjust to their primitive life on Earth until she is sent on a training mission to the future to learn how to become a better hero and team player. But on her retreat, she uncovers a dark plot that could threaten society. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, frightening imagery, and intense cartoon violence. Next up, we have Justice League War World. Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman find themselves in the world, where they are forced to fight through simulations that warp their sense of reality. For the Parent's Guide, expect some moderate language, suggestive character designs, severe frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. And lastly, we have Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths. This is the last entry of the Tomorrowverse. A mysterious wave of antimatter energy threatens to destroy the different Earths of the multiverse, but heroes from different worlds and continuities come together to try and stop this unknown foe from completely eradicating everything. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, moderate frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Alright, time for some video games. Video games? You can't be serious. I came here to watch movies, not play video games. Yes, I'm aware. This isn't something I expect you to get into. This is a section for those who want to play video games. Gamings have evolved throughout the years, and so has gaming storytelling. And DC is a big part of that as well. This will be the shortest section of this video, so let's get started. First up, we have Batman Arkham Asylum. This is the first game in the DC universe that had a cultural impact and is actually good. This game brings back many of the actors from Batman the Animated Series to play their iconic characters. This is also where we see how Batman's fighting skills can be visualized in a cool way. For the Parent's Guide, expect some moderate language, suggestive character designs, partial nudity, intense frightening imagery, and video game violence. Next up, we have Batman Arkham City. This sequel to Arkham Asylum opens the world of Batman as he is now in a city of prisoners. Everything about the first game is improved upon this one. Rocksteady took a major creative risk in the story that has fans still shocked and impressed. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, dialogue, intense frightening imagery, and video game violence. Next up, we have Batman Arkham Origins. This is a prequel in the Arkham series made by a different studio. Batman is being hunted by assassins and must face them before the night ends. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, dialogue, intense frightening imagery, and video game violence. Next up, we have Batman Arkham Knight. This is the conclusion of the Arkham series. The Scarecrow is back, and he is not alone. A mysterious villain called the Arkham Knight has a personal vendetta against Batman. For the Parent's Guide, expect some moderate language, suggestive character designs, dialogue, severe frightening imagery, and intense video game violence. Next up, we have Injustice: Gods Among Us. This is a game about a world where Superman becomes evil. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and video game violence. Next up, we have Injustice 2. In this sequel to Injustice, we follow Supergirl as she fights her cousin to save the world. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and video game violence. Next up, we have Batman the Telltale series. This is a choose-your-own-adventure game where we follow Batman. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character designs, partial nudity, implied sex, severe frightening imagery, and video game violence, and some gore. Next up, we have Gotham Knights. In the wake of Batman's death, 4 of his protégés must work together to live up to Batman's legacy. For the Parent's Guide, expect some moderate language, suggestive character design, intense frightening imagery, and video game violence. And lastly, we have Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. The Suicide Squad must hunt down members of a brainwashed Justice League before they wreak havoc upon the world. While this is technically set in the Arkham series, it makes many controversial decisions that has garnered it much negative criticism. For the Parent's Guide, expect some suggestive character design, dialogue, severe frightening imagery, and video game violence. Alright, now let's talk about everything else I didn't mention. Seriously? How much stuff is there? Don't worry, this is the last section of the video. DC has had a long history of producing different films, shows, and versions of their famous characters. And it's a little bit difficult to place them all in their own sections. So this section of the video is where I mention every other DC project that I haven't mentioned at this time. Now, this doesn't mean that they aren't good or worth watching. It just means that they didn't quite perfectly fit the other sections of this video. Now, there's just far too many DC projects to keep track of, so it's very possible that I might miss some stuff here. But if you ever wanted to be a completionist, just look it up on a Wikipedia page. Now, there's a lot of stuff here, so I'm going to have to speed run through it. So this section is organized by release date. Let's go. First up, we have Adventures of Captain Marvel. This is a 12-chapter serial about Captain Marvel, or Shazam, as he fights the forces of evil. This is the first live-action superhero in DC. For the parent's guide, you'll have some mild superhero violence. Next up, we have Fleischer's Superman cartoon. This is a series of animated shorts surrounding the titular character. This is notable for being one of the best pieces of hand-drawn animation to come from DC. For the parent's guide, you'll have some mild, frightening imagery. Next up, we will have Batman. This is a 15-part serial about Batman. This marks the first time Batman is portrayed in live action. For the parent's guide, we'll have some insensitive character designs and mild, frightening imagery. Next up, we have Superman. This is a 15-part serial about Superman. It is his first appearance in live action. For the parent's guide, we'll have some mild superhero violence. Next up, we have Batman and Robin. This is another 15-part serial sequel featuring Batman and Robin. For the parent's guide, we'll have some mild, frightening imagery. Next up, we have Adventures of Superman. This is Superman's first television show, and the character is portrayed by George Reeves, who is in fact not related to Christopher Reeve. Many elements of this series are staple for Superman. For the parent's guide, you'll have some mild, frightening imagery. Next up, you have The New Adventures of Superman. This is an animated cartoon about Superman. For the parent's guide, you will have some mild cartoon violence. Next up, we have The Super Friends. This is a classic cartoon about the Super Friends, or the Justice League, made by Hanna-Barbera. There are actually a couple different reboots of the show, however, in re-releases they get clumped together. For the parent's guide, you'll have some mild cartoon violence. Next up, you'll have Shazam. This is a show about Captain Marvel. This is a typical teenager hero learns a lesson in each episode show. For the parent's guide, you'll have some mild, frightening imagery. Next up, we have The New Adventures of Batman. This is an animated series about Batman. For the parent's guide, you'll have some mild, frightening imagery. Next up, we have the Plastic Man Comedy Adventure Show. And this is an animated series following Plastic Man. For the parent's guide, you have some mild cartoon violence. Next up is Swamp Thing. This is a film about Swamp Thing, and it is his first live-action appearance. For the parent's guide, you have some suggestive outfits, nudity, and moderate frightening imagery. Next up, we have Supergirl. This movie was stylized to be part of the Christopher Reeve series of movies, however, many elements do not fit within the canon of the other films. For the parent's guide, you will have some suggestive dialogue and moderate frightening imagery. Next up, we have Superboy. This is a series about Superboy during his time in college. For the parent's guide, you'll have some suggestive outfits, mild frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up, we have the Ruby Spears Superman. This is another Superman cartoon. For the parent's guide, you'll have some mild cartoon violence. Next up, we have The Return of Swamp Thing. This is a sequel to the original Swamp Thing film. For the parent's guide, you'll have suggested outfits, moderate frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up is the Swamp Thing TV show. And this is a TV show based on the character Swamp Thing. For the parent's guide, you'll have suggestive outfits, moderate frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up, we have Swamp Thing. This is an animated series that ran alongside with the live-action series. For the parent's guide, you'll have some mild frightening imagery and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Steel. This is a movie about the superhero Steel, who was played by Shaquille O'Neal. For the parent's guide, you'll have some mild frightening imagery and superhero violence. Next up is The Zeta Project. This is a somewhat obscure animated series set in the same time as Batman Beyond. It is still considered part of the DCAU, though it is not often remembered. For the parent's guide, we have mild frightening imagery and cartoon violence. Next up is Batman Mystery of the Batwoman. If you wanted more from the world of Batman the Animated Series, we have another movie. Here, a new vigilante has appeared and it is up to Batman to figure out what her ideals are. It has no effect on the universe and is not a required watch for the DCAU. For the Parent's Guide, we have suggestive character designs, dialogue, and mild frightening imagery. Next up, we have Catwoman. This is a movie that is very loosely based on Catwoman. It's a completely different character that just happens to have the same superhero name. Catwoman is portrayed by Halle Berry. This is not well regarded. For the Parent's Guide, we have some suggestive outfits, moderate frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up, we have Crypto the Superdog. This is an animated series following Superman's dog. For the Parent's Guide, you'll have some mild cartoon violence. Next up, we have Constantine. This is a movie about the character Constantine, who is played by Keanu Reeves. This is an Americanized version of the British character. For the Parent's Guide, you'll have some heavy language, intense frightening imagery, and severe violence. Next up, we have V for Vendetta. This is a film about the revolutionist known as V, a film that is often topical during presidential elections. For the Parent's Guide, you will have suggestive outfits, dialogue, intense frightening imagery, and violence. Next up, we have Superman Brainiac Attacks. This is an animated film about Brainiac. It is visually inspired by Superman the Animated Series and the DCAU, but it is not part of the universe. For the Parent's Guide, we have suggestive character designs, dialogue, and moderate frightening imagery. Next up, we have Batman Gotham Knight. This is a collection of 6 Batman stories portrayed by different anime studios. For the Parent's Guide, we have some mild language, suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Jonah Hex. This is a film about the cowboy bounty hunter Jonah Hex as he tries to save America from the Confederacy. For the Parent's Guide, we have moderate language, suggestive outfits, intense frightening imagery, and violence. Next up, we have Green Lantern Emerald Knights. This is an animated movie about a series of stories involving different Green Lanterns. Each story contains a lesson that the characters learn by the end. For the Parent's Guide, we'll have suggestive character designs, moderate frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Superman Unbound. This is an animated movie about Superman fighting Brainiac. For the Parent's Guide, we have suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Beware of the Batman. This is an animated series about Batman during his first years as a hero, and he teaches other heroes on his journey as well. This contains villains that aren't often used. For the Parent's Guide, you'll have suggestive character designs, moderate frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Teen Titans Go. This is a comedy reboot of the Teen Titans that includes the original cast. For the Parent's Guide, we have suggestive character designs, mild frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Gotham. This is a show that focuses on the police and criminal families of Gotham. It is also a show about a young Bruce Wayne trying to find his purpose after the death of his parents. The show serves to tell the origins of some of Batman's greatest villains, as well as set up Bruce Wayne on his journey to become the Batman. For the Parent's Guide, we have suggested outfits, partial nudity, severe frightening imagery, and violence. Next up, we have Batman Assault on Arkham. While the movie is called Batman, this is really about the Suicide Squad. This film shows off a basic mission of the Suicide Squad pretty well. This film is somewhat set in the same universe as the Arkham video games. For the Parent's Guide, we have suggestive character designs, partial nudity, implied sex, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Justice League Gods and Monsters. This is an animated movie that shows alternate versions of the Justice League characters. Each superhero is portrayed by one of their villains. For the Parent's Guide, we have suggestive character designs, dialogue, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders. This is an animated movie set in the world of the 60s Batman TV show. Adam West and Burt Ward return to their iconic roles in this loving continuation of the series. For the Parent's Guide, you'll have some suggestive character designs and mild cartoon violence. Next up, we have Justice League Action. This is an animated series about the wacky, action-packed adventures of the Justice League. It is fun as a lot of the characters are voiced by their classic actors. For the Parent's Guide, we have suggestive character designs, mild frightening imagery, and moderate cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman and Harley Quinn. Stylized after Batman the Animated Series, this movie shows a team-up between Batman and Harley Quinn. It is meant to be a continuation of the DCAU, but it is a controversial film. For the Parents Guide, we have moderate language, suggestive character designs, partial nudity, implied sex, and some intense cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman vs. Two-Face. In the sequel to The Return of the Caped Crusaders, Adam West returns as Batman for one last time as he faces off against Two-Face, who is played by William Shatner. For the Parents Guide, you'll have some suggestive character designs and moderate cartoon violence. Next up, we have Scooby-Doo and Batman, the Brave and the Bold. In this animated crossover between Scooby-Doo and Batman, we return to the world of the Brave and the Bold as Batman and the gang must solve a mystery. For the character guide, we have suggestive character designs, mild frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman Ninja. In this Batman anime film, we see Batman travel back in time during feudal Japan. For the Parents Guide, we have suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Krypton. This is a show about Superman's grandparents. For the Parents Guide, we have suggestive outfits, moderate frightening imagery, and violence. Next up, we have Teen Titans Go to the movies. The Teen Titans Go series get their own theatrical film that makes fun of the superhero film craze, in the same comedy style of the show. For the Parents Guide, we have suggestive character designs, mild frightening imagery, and moderate cartoon violence. Next up, we have Justice League vs. the Fatal Five. In this animated film, somewhat set in the DCAU, we see the return of the Justice League as they fight against some villains. While this is meant to be part of the DCAU, some elements may betray the core values of the original run. For the Parents Guide, we have suggestive character designs, moderate frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have HBO's Watchmen. This is an HBO miniseries that is a sequel to the original graphic novel. For the Parents Guide, we have severe language, nudity, sex, intense frightening imagery, and violence. Next up, we have Batman vs. the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This animated crossover film shows what a team-up with Batman and the TMNT would look like. For the Parents Guide, we have suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have DC Superhero Girls. This is an animated series following the girls of the DC Universe. This show is created by the same creator of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. They share many similar concepts. For the Parents Guide, we'll have some mild frightening imagery and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Harley Quinn. This is an adult comedy animated series about Harley Quinn. For the Parents Guide, we have suggestive character designs, partial nudity, severe frightening imagery, cartoon violence, gore, the works. Next up, we have Teen Titans Go vs. Teen Titans. The sequel to the Teen Titans Go film shows a team-up with this version of the Titans and the original Teen Titans show. For the Parents Guide, we have suggestive character designs and moderate frightening imagery. Next up, we have Pennyworth. This is a show about Alfred during his youth as a sort of gunman. For the Parents Guide, we have suggestive outfits, severe frightening imagery, and violence. Next up, we have Deathstroke, Knights and Dragons. This is an animated film about Deathstroke as he tries to save his son from Hive. For the Parents Guide, we have suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman Soul of the Dragon. This is an animated Batman film inspired by 70s martial arts kung fu spy films. For the Parents Guide, we have suggestive character designs, frightening imagery, and intense cartoon violence. Next up, we have Aquaman, King of Atlantis. This is a 3-episode animated special about a wacky Aquaman trying to maintain peace. For the Parents Guide, we have some mild frightening imagery and moderate cartoon violence. Next up, we have Catwoman Hunted. This is an anime-styled film about Catwoman as she gets into trouble for stealing from the wrong people. For the Parents Guide, we have some suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman and Superman Battle of the Super Sons. This is a film about Robin and Superboy as they learn to be friends and work as a team. For the Parents Guide, we have some intense frightening imagery and moderate cartoon violence. Next up, we have Peacemaker. This is a spin-off series from James Gunn's The Suicide Squad that follows the titular character. A thing of note is that the first season is part of the DCAU. However, the second season is set in James Gunn's new DCU. For the Parents Guide, we have suggestive character outfits, nudity, severe frightening imagery, and violence. Next up, we have Batwheels. So Batman's vehicles are brought to life and fight crime along Batman. For the Parents Guide, we have mild cartoon violence. Next up, we have DC League of Super Pets, which is an animated film about a group of pets who become superheroes. For the Parents Guide, we have suggestive character designs and mild frightening imagery. Next up, we have Gotham Knights. A group of edgy teens who just so happen to be related to Batman's rogues gallery of characters get framed for the murder of Bruce Wayne and must work to find out what really happened. For the Parent's Guide, we have moderate language, suggestive dialogue, frightening imagery, and superhero violence. Next up, we have Justice League X Ruby, Superheroes and Huntsmen. This is a two-part crossover film between DC's heroes and Rooster Teeth's Ruby characters. This is an odd choice of crossover considering that Ruby isn't really known as a crossover property. For the Parent's Guide, we have suggestive character designs, moderate frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman, The Doom That Came to Gotham. This is an H.P. Lovecraft-style story told through the lens of Batman. For the Parent's Guide, we have suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Scooby-Doo and Crypto 2. This is another Scooby-Doo and DC crossover film. For the Parent's Guide, we have moderate frightening imagery and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Merry Little Batman. This is an animated Christmas film that follows the coming-of-age story of Batman's son. For the Parent's Guide, we have suggestive character designs, moderate frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have My Adventures with Superman. A young Superman tries to form his own identity as a hero and as a person in this solid new take. For the Parent's Guide, we have some suggestive character designs and mild frightening imagery. Next up, we have Suicide Squad Isekai. This is an anime about the Suicide Squad as they travel to another world. For the Parent's Guide, we have suggestive character designs, partial nudity, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Kite Man Hell Yeah. This is a spin-off to the Harley Quinn show that stars Kite Man. For the Parent's Guide, we have suggestive character design, severe frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have Batman Cape Crusader. This is a 40s-inspired noir Batman series that attempts to reinvent the world of the titular character. For the Parent's Guide, we have some suggestive character designs, intense frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. Next up, we have The Penguin. This is a spin-off miniseries to the Matt Reeves Batman film that focuses on the Penguin and his desire for power. For the Parent's Guide, we have some partial nudity, severe violence, and gore. Next up, we have Creature Commandos. This is the first official project of James Gunn's DCAU that follows a ragtag group of characters as they go on a secret mission. For the Parent's Guide, we have suggestive character designs, nudity, severe frightening imagery, and cartoon violence. And lastly, we have Batman Ninja vs. Yakuza League. This is a sequel to Batman Ninja and the most recent animated project. For the Parent's Guide, we have suggestive character designs and intense frightening imagery. Alright, that's it. Wait, is that it? Am I done? Am I now a master of DC? Well, it's a start. There's just only so much you can get from watching just the TV shows and films. The comics are where all the meat of this property is. So if you ever want to be completely immersed in these universes, read them. But for now, this list will have to do. And besides, watching through all of this is way more than your average viewer. I hope that this video helped in leading you through this universe. If you ever need additional assistance, ask a friend who's knowledgeable on the subject or just look it up. And there are plenty of comic book centered YouTube channels that you can check out on these subjects. But I hope you enjoy what this universe has to offer. So let me know in the comments what you think of these projects. But that's all I've got to say for today. So thank you guys for watching and please come again. Bye.